What is up, team? Happy Sunday. I hope you all had a fabulous weekend and you're enjoying what's left of your Sunday. I am so excited to jump on here and talk about one of my favorite subjects. I'm really glad that you have voted on this topic, which is at times a little bit controversial, but I hope to kind of lift the curtain on this and give you some education that I believe we are all entitled to. We all have the right to know what we're putting into our bodies, where our food sources are coming from, and how our food is going to affect our performance and our longevity. So I'm going to start by just explaining a little bit about food labels, exactly what they are, and then we're going to get into ingredients. So a lot of people will ask me, what is the fastest way to improve my health? Do I need to shop at Whole Foods? Do I need to spend a fortune? Do I need to start going to the gym? Should I drink more water? Should I calorie count, etc.? So one of the simplest ways that we can start improving our overall health now is become more conscious of our food labels and our ingredients that we put into our body. So I'm going to use a bag of organic corn chips as my example, as I explain a little bit about the breakdown behind what we want to focus on when we're looking at our nutrition facts. Okay, so the first thing that is going to be the most important rule number one, is know your serving sizes, because everything based on this label is based on based on one serving. Okay, so when I look at my calories from fat, my total fat, my trans fat, saturated fat, protein, sugars, carbs, everything, that is all going to be based on one serving. So for example, in my bag of corn chips, one serving size is about an ounce or 12 chips. So when you're eating more than 12 chips, or you're mindlessly eating, grabbing handfuls without measuring, you're going to get significantly more of all of these things in your body. So that's the first thing I want you to be aware of. The second thing, and this is probably the most thing that people focus on, is our calories. Because calories in, calories out, it's really quite that simple. However, not all calories are created equal. That's a separate topic, but for this topic, note the calories in your serving. Because this is a snack, we want to be mindful that our snacks are between 100 to 150 calories. We keep our meals between 350 to 500 calories, depending on your activity level. It's just something you want to be mindful of, even if you're not diligently tracking or counting that. So the next thing we're going to get into is our total fat. So we have our total fat in grams, and then we have our percentages on the other side. So the percentages are all based on a 2,000 calorie diet, okay? So a lot of times our total fat will list our saturated fat and our trans fat, and that's it. So on this bag, for example, I have 1 gram of saturated fat and 1 gram of trans fat. So you're probably wondering, where are all of the other grams coming from if there's 10 grams? And the reason is that not all fats are listed in our food labels. A lot of times we'll see saturated fat and we'll see trans fat and nothing else. This label actually does list our polyunsaturated fat and our monosaturated fat. And then we also have omega-3 and omega-6, which is not typically listed on our labels, but those types of fats are, generally speaking, healthy for us and won't really affect much. But the food industry lists what is most important. And also note that there are tons of foods out there that are great for us that are high in fat, i.e. avocados, certain cooking oils, nuts and seeds. But we really want to focus on our trans fat, and we want to keep that low as possible. So This in particular has 0 grams. The trans fat is typically what is linked to heart disease and other conditions. So we want to be avoiding those things. And a lot of times I'll hear people tell me, oh, I'm taking fish oil supplements or omega supplements, not realizing that a lot of these things come from our food. So if you are somebody that's taking supplements, I would just ask the question, why are you taking the supplement that you're taking? What is your diet lacking that is encouraging you to take this supplement? Because I guarantee somebody that passed information to somebody else makes you believe you need to be taking fish oils every day. And generally speaking, that's just not the case. So be mindful of your supplements. Make sure you're getting a well-balanced, well-rounded diet first. You have the foundation first, and then you can kind of talk about supplements that would be right for you. Everybody's going to be different in that area. So then we come down to our cholesterol, our sodium. These are the things we also want to be mindful of. Cholesterol is linked to a ton of different diseases, and we want to just make sure we're keeping those things low. Also, sodium. So again, the percentage is going to be based on a 2,000 calorie diet. It's also going to be based upon the fact that you're only putting into your body 1 serving size. So if this has 5% of sodium and I'm consuming 2 or 3 serving sizes, that is going to add up. And you want to keep your daily sodium intake under 25% if possible. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we also want to be paying attention to our total carbohydrates, dietary fibers, and sugars. So our total carbohydrates. So first of all, carbs get a really bad rap because we sort of think of carbs as one unit, don't we? So bread, pasta, potatoes, right? Snacks, these all are lumped into carbohydrates, when in reality, we need to be worried about the refined carbohydrates, our white bread, white rice, pasta, which in turn really breaks down very similarly to the body and functions similar as sugar. Okay, so those types of carbohydrates, refined carbs, equals sugar. Our complex carbohydrates, our sweet potatoes, our brown rice pasta, those sort of carbohydrates will digest much slower in the body and typically will have higher amounts of dietary fiber. That is what keeps us full. That's what aids in our digestion. And that is why carbs are not created equal. So when we're thinking about making certain swaps, very easily, I can grab a seedy bread versus a white bread. I can grab a brown rice versus white rice. We want to take a good, better, best approach. So if your carbohydrates, for example, are very high and your dietary fiber is very low, you'll want to be conscious of that. And that's what's going to affect, again, our total sugar. When we look at our added sugar in our diet, we really want to be conscious of that as well and avoid those added sugars whenever possible, because we really don't need to be adding any additional sugar when sugar can have those sort of addictive components. If we're keeping everything relatively in reason and in moderation, we're good. But if you're starting to pay attention of your added sugars that you're consuming on a regular basis, you may be surprised by the number of added sugar in a particular food or foods that you consume regularly. And then we have our protein. So obviously we want to be consuming around 30% of protein in our diet daily. This is something that women in particular really struggle with. So this is why, going back to our healthy balanced meal video, I always recommend having some sort of protein-based snack, or at least a quarter of your plate, some sort of protein in your meals. So we want to be kind of getting that protein source in us when we can. It's usually typically not a struggle in the slightest to hit our carbohydrate goal and our fat goal. It's the protein where we typically lack, and especially women. So that hopefully gives you an idea of how you'll want to be conscious of reading your food labels. We're also going to get into ingredients, and this is where I have my comparison. So I have an organic bag of corn chips from my favorite place, Trader Joe's, and then on my screen, which I'll try to show you closer up, I have a genetic brand of corn chips, and we can do a quick comparison because y'all already know I don't even keep that stuff in my house. Okay, so when we're looking at ingredients, and this is very important, also forgot to mention, getting into the very bottom part of our food label, we have our vitamins, minerals, calcium, those sort of things. You don't really need to pay too much attention to that section because generally speaking, those numbers are going to be very low. If you're reading a food label, that particular food is just going to be low in vitamins and minerals. We want to be getting our vitamins and minerals from fruits and vegetables and whole foods. Okay, so keep that in mind. So getting into our ingredients. Now, the food industry has a very sneaky way of creating, how do I say this? Positive food marketing. And this is where ingredient reading really plays a role in your overall health. So when you see foods like low fat, fat free, low sugar, different things like that, we still want to be conscious of the ingredients. So my main rule of thumb here, guys, is if you can't recognize some of the ingredients, particularly the first five, it's not something that you want to be eating. And the reason is because in the United States, and this might be kind of a controversial topic, but I'm just going to give you the facts because I think everybody has a right to know of our food sources and where our ingredients in our foods are coming from. So typically processed foods that require certain oils also have in the United States, these are genetically modified organisms, GMO. Okay, so in other countries, for example, the crops are not used with genetically modified organisms. So most other countries either don't have to worry about GMO foods, or the FDA has regulated that a GMO food needs to be labeled very clearly on that particular food in the ingredient list. The United States does not require our GMO foods to be labeled clearly. So for this reason, foods that are, or ingredients rather, in foods oftentimes have genetically modified ingredients because our crops here are not as regulated as other countries that that industrialize their food. For example, Australia, it is illegal to have genetically modified crops in Australia. Not the case in the United States, unfortunately, but we still are empowered to, there's ways that we can petition this sort of thing and go out and do our part. But I recommend strongly that you do your part just by being conscious of these ingredients. So I'm gonna read some off to you. And so these are the crops that, generally speaking, oftentimes are genetically modified crops. So they are corn, canola, soybeans, cotton, sugar beets, alfalfa, Hawaiian papaya, zucchini, and yellow squash. So this might sound pretty basic. These sound like basic ingredients, and I'm gonna give you the first rule of thumb. First of all, anything that is high fructose corn syrup most definitely GMO. Okay, so this is a main ingredient in sugary cereals and kids' snacks, kids' candies, yogurts, a lot of basic things that you might have in your pantry or in your refrigerator right now. So high fructose corn syrup, 100% of the time GMO. Same deal with different soybean and soybean oils, canola oil. So this is why I recommend making certain swaps like avocado oil mayo instead of traditional mayo, which has canola oil. Definitely making our own salad dressings versus getting bottled salad dressings with high fructose corn syrup. That's mostly very popular in salad dressings as well. These are the sort of things we want to be conscious of. I'll go ahead and list a lot of the ingredients that generally speaking are GMO so that you can begin to become conscious and aware. But going back to my original rule of thumb, if you can't pronounce any of the ingredients, especially the first five, then it's something that you'll probably want to avoid. Processed foods, just in general, are linked to obesity. They're linked to a ton of heart disease and, just not worth it. Okay, so take a good, better, best approach. And what I mean by that is I'm taking my organic corn chips and I'm gonna check out my ingredients. The food labels themselves, very, very similar to the generic brand, but I'm looking at organic ground yellow corn, organic sunflower oil, and sea salt. Those are my ingredients and organic is non-GMO, okay? So yes, organic will cost more, but your health is an investment, not an expense. I'm gonna take a look at these ingredients in the generic brand: corn oil, and salt, GMO. So obviously, could we make that swap? We can easily do that. Next step would be swapping out that particular snack for a more nutrient dense snack, say a sliced apple with peanut butter or almond butter. Some broccoli or cucumber with hummus. Again, getting our protein and our vitamins, minerals, whole foods, complex carbohydrates, our healthy fats, avocado on a slice of seedy bread. Okay, so these are the things that we want to focus on and just kind of keep it simple when we're talking about food choices and the foods that we want to put in our bodies. But I hope you found this session of value to you. I hope this does at least create some extra time in the grocery store looking at food labels, looking at especially the kids' snacks that we're choosing to keep in our pantry and the foods that you're putting into your body on a regular basis. We want to be incorporating a whole balanced, whole food diet, nutrient dense, to keep us at peak performance, to keep us at our best self, to keep our weight managed, to keep our performance amazing, and to keep ourselves fueled and nourished so that we can go out, take care of everybody we need to take care of, and take care of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're really going for. Who doesn't want to be living a long, beautiful, balanced, healthy lifestyle? I don't know anybody that wouldn't want to improve their overall health in any area that they can. So again, I hope you found this of value. I will go ahead and link those ingredients so you have them for your future food shopping trip. And until next time, I will see you soon. Have a great night.